Welcome to Policy on Demand's Week in Review. I'm Karl Russo. The lack of negotiation in Washington and each side believing it's winning brings us to week 5 of the government shutdown. Polling thus far shows Republicans' favorability improving since the shutdown began, and Democrats are leading on the generic ballot for the upcoming midterm election. Both parties can point to signals that the negative political consequences that have precipitated an end to prior shutdowns have not yet materialized. November 1st may serve as a motivating date as open enrollment begins then for health insurance plans on the exchanges. The smaller subsidies available without the tax credit extension may present sticker shock to the more than 20 million enrollees estimated to purchase subsidized exchange plans. Separately, the Department of Agriculture confirmed that Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP benefits, that would normally be distributed on November 1st will be suspended, affecting more than 42 million recipients. Observers await to see whether the effects of these developments and any messaging around them change the political dynamics. Meanwhile, the Congressional Budget Office released estimates this week of the economic effects of a temporary government shutdown. A one-month shutdown could reduce real gross domestic product in the fourth quarter by $18 billion and reduce the annualized real GDP growth rate in the fourth quarter of 2025 by 1 percentage point. CBO expects most of the decline in GDP to be recovered eventually after funding resumes, so that by the fourth quarter of 2026, real GDP would be $7 billion, or 0.02% smaller than it would otherwise have been. The White House announced finalized trade deals this week with Cambodia and Malaysia, and framework agreements with Thailand and Vietnam involving lower tariffs in exchange for policy reforms to open those markets to U.S. goods. In the U.S. Senate, a handful of Republicans joined nearly all Democrats to pass resolutions earlier this week attempting to block the president's emergency powers as it relates to higher tariffs on Brazil and Canada. Eyes and ears will focus next week on the Supreme Court as oral arguments are scheduled for November 5th on challenges to presidential authority to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. A ruling is expected by the end of the current Supreme Court term in June. And France announced this week plans to increase its digital services tax rate and to raise the exemption level. This prompted a response from U.S. policymakers charging France with further discriminating against U.S. companies and warnings that the U.S. may retaliate. Finally, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points, bringing them under 4% for the first time since December 2022. Stocks softened on the news as Chairman Jerome Powell indicated another cut that markets had all but certainly expected at the December meeting, quote, is not a foregone conclusion. A note for our viewers, the first general elections of President Trump's second term are on Tuesday. Our coverage begins on Monday. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching and take care.